Namaskar friends, this is NJ, your host on this channel. Continuing our discussion on the axis of Rahu and Ketu. In this video, we will have our discussion on Rahu's placement in the 5th house and Ketu's placement in the 11th house in your natal chart. Now guys, if I were to say that which placement or which axis of Rahu and Ketu is very easy to spot in someone's life or see it in someone's personality, so I would say that 5th house and 11th house axis, because guys, at the end of the day, wheresoever planet are placed, they somehow imparts their characteristics in the personality of someone as well. And Rahu in a way just tells about the kind of thoughts which comes to our mind, and 5th house also tells about that our thought process. So because of which, whether working out in a constructive way or in a negative way, this placement of Rahu and Ketu in this house axis is very easy to spot in someone's personality. And guys, the beauty of this axis is that in the original Kalpurush Kundli, 5th house carries the energy of Leo ruled by Sun, which signifies our soul. So soul is unbounded. Same way when we talk about 11th house or Aquarius energy, which carries the justice giving side of the planet Saturn, where Saturn delivers its justice, and a judge is always like unbiased. So because of which no planet attains exaltation or attains debilitation in the Leo Aquarius or in the energies of the 5th house or the 11th house. And the good part over here is that guys, only if someone's thought process is constructive, so the results which can be experienced tend to remain in a very bountiful way, because then Ketu is going to be placed in the 11th house, capable enough of changing the course of your life with just one positive strike. So now guys, starting our discussion. So what is the importance of the nodes? So definitely we are born because of the nodes only, all sort of unfulfilled wishes and desires which became responsible for our birth. The good part about the Rahu and Ketu is that apart from the very basic introduction of the nodes, that Rahu takes you towards future and Ketu has got the answers of all of your past life actions and deeds. But the most important fact is that they somehow carries the surprise element, all those dormant and latent potential which you carry within you. Rahu and Ketu, and the churning of Rahu and Ketu only is capable enough of bringing out at the right times in your life journey. Now guys, like starting our discussion first, now let's first take our attention towards the side where Rahu is placed. So guys, like different astrologers and people have got different way of looking at this placement of Rahu, like definitely beyond doubt. When we talk about the creative side of the 5th house, or when we talk about the material side of the 5th house, those are the one of the aspect which actually get a boost because of the placement of Rahu in this house. Because as you know that Rahu does not follow any rule. Rahu is very innovative. All sort of inventions, discoveries, out of the box thinking is always attached with the Rahu. So let's say for example, if you have chosen a profession where working in the fields of art, entertainment, creativity, scientific pursuit, latest tech industry, if all of that is getting applicable in your case, and all other factors in the chart are acting out in a supportive way, like the way, for example, when we talk about Rahu's placement in the 5th house, so apart from looking at the dignity and strength of the 5th house lord, you also have to give attention to the Saturn and Jupiter and Sun as well. So if all these elements are working out constructive, then trust me, this is a kind of a placement which can actually make you a pioneer, it can make you a genius, and it can give you fame of the highest level as well. Beyond doubt guys, whenever we talk about people who remain lucky in speculative gains, lottery wins, all sort of investments, funding, and creating something very magnanimous in the fields of art, entertainment, creativity, this is a very supportive sign for that. But now guys comes the twisted part, because when we talk about karmic clutches gripping you or making you accountable for your actions, so the punishment or the judgment is not only get delivered to you in the form of your negative thinking, or your destructive, very manipulative thinking, becoming responsible for your fall, for all of the agony and pain. But moreover, this placement also negatively impacts the progeny or the child as well. Now guys, in like a lot many spiritual texts and astrology books, it has been written that Rahu's placement over here is responsible for a lot many miscarriages, and it also gives a lot of problems concerning around the progeny, which I do not completely agree to, because with this kind of excess, in a way, now Ketu is placed in the 11th house. Now Ketu is responsible for progeny, specifically the male progeny. So Ketu's placement in the house of wish fulfillment in the 11th house in itself is a very good indication. The only concern is that I generally see this placement in this way, that if with this placement of Rahu in the 5th house, native is not making use of his mind positively, constructively, or being on the ethical and lawful side of the society and the community, then only the punishment comes. And generally punishment comes in the form of not only the natives suffer, but the progeny also suffer. And a lot many times it has been seen that all those people who do all sort of ill acts, and at the end they get mistreated in return by their own children. So this placement of Rahu in the 5th house in its extreme negative side is responsible for that as well. This only reminded me of a very good story which I read in one of the Puranas. I guess it was a Shiv Puran, where what happened, there was a bandit. He used to mug and rob villagers who used to cross from that specific forest area in the night time. And once there was a saint who was crossing from over there. So when this bandit, he tried to rob the saint, he just asked him that, why you're doing this thing? So he said that it's my dharma, I need to feed my family. He says that, okay, do you know and are you confident that when the judgment is gonna take place, is your family is going to share the burden of your sins as well with you or not? He says, I'm sure they will do that. Okay, so then the saint says that, okay, do not be very confident, go and verify it with your family first. So this bandit, he runs back to his home, and when he asks this question to his wife, to his children, they all deny that, no, it's your duty to feed us, and why will we be responsible for sharing the burden of your sins? It's only you who is going to be accountable. So I don't know from where this story came in the discussion, but the point which I'm trying to say over here is that if you have Rahu placed in the 5th house and your mind in itself, your thought process is very destructive, is very manipulative, then it can also become responsible for your own life, your own progeny later on in the life mistreating you, can also be attached as a negative side of this placement of Rahu in the 5th house. Now guys, why I said this thing, that this is a kind of a typical placement which is very easy to spot in someone's personality. If you know someone for a long span of time, or if you have been observing someone and just observing someone's life, someone's life journey, how can you say that, okay, he must have Rahu placed in the 5th house? So definitely guys, when we talk about Rahu's placement in the 1st house, it can give someone a very hypnotic attraction. It can make someone very unusually attractive or charming in an unusual way. Same way, when we talk about Rahu's placement in the 5th house, the mindset of this person is going to be like all those kids who are like very mischievous while growing up, and even in their youth or in their adulthood, they are like always getting into one trouble after another because of their own all sort of scheming, plotting, mischiefs. So this is a kind of a typical that placement. But again guys, the good side of this placement of Rahu in the 5th house is that whenever we see all those people who are genius in their chosen field, when it comes down to Rahu, we never talk about if Rahu's energy is working out in its full octane, then we do not say that this person is intelligent. We say that this person is genius. And a lot many times the result of that is somehow connected or attached with your past as well, because guys, 5th house also tells about your past life merits as well. So yes guys, you have to give lot of attention and scrutinization. But one thing which I want to advise to someone who has got Rahu placed in the 5th house, that only thing which you have to purify is your thought process, and mindfulness, doing yoga, doing meditation becomes very supportive in that. I still remember, guys, there is a client of mine, and in his case he has when I looked at his chart, and it was a telephonic conversation, so we discussed a lot about his life journey. So this guy had Gemini Lagna with 7th house lord Jupiter being debilitated in the 8th house, and just because he had Rahu placed in the 5th house, and Venus was also in a state of affliction, and this guy had got very severe gambling addictions. And he revealed this thing to me, that there was a time when he even gambled his whole family assets and property as well because of his gambling addiction and tendencies. So yes, guys, there are pros and cons, but I would say that if utilized well, this is a kind of a placement which is capable enough of giving you humongous wealth, making you a pioneer, very heightened sense of confidence, and attainment of fame of the highest level can be attached as this placement of Rahu in the 5th house. Now guys, shifting our attention towards the house where Ketu is placed in the chart. So guys, if you will find Ketu to be well supported in the 11th house, in a way that the dispositor of Ketu is placed in a favorable sign, or individually Saturn and Jupiter are well placed in the chart, then this placement is responsible for giving fame to the highest level. Second thing is that, guys, because Ketu is responsible for all sort of extraterrestrial communication, spirit world, all sort of siddhiya, spiritual powers. So with this kind of alignment, if native, although tendency and the possibility is going to be very low, because Rahu's placement in the 5th house will actually create a lot of obstruction in the progress towards the path of self-realization or meditation or spirituality. But let's say, for example, if other alignments are supportive of a spiritually oriented lifestyle, so this is a kind of a typical yoga or placement where native can gain a lot of siddhiya, lot of spiritual conscious awareness, and wheresoever he will put his heart and soul towards any of the goals or targets, native might be able to achieve that, or nature, omens keep on getting aligned in favor for native success. Second thing is that, guys, definitely Ketu is responsible, and Ketu is attached with a hoisted flag. So I've seen this placement in the charts of many successful celebrities, like specifically if Ketu is conjunct with Sun in the 10th house, in the 11th house, where fame is magnanimous, and specifically you are seen as a perfectionist or the best person in that chosen profession or in that chosen field. And also, guys, many times it has been seen that after the birth of the male progeny, natives path towards success becomes more strengthened. And also, guys, because 11th house also tells about your connection, about your networking as well. So this is a kind of a typical yoga or typical placement where Ketu can actually make you very close knit when it comes down to your network. But definitely, because Ketu also has got a lot to contribute in the form of our judgment, our opinion, our philosophies. So whatsoever ideologies native strongly has faith in, so native will try to associate or socialize or hobnob within those communities as well. Or he could be a spokesperson, he could be the head of any of those groups, any of those organizations. So regarding that front as well, this is a very good placement of Ketu in the 11th house. It can actually restrict your circle, but whatsoever people who will be in your circle of influence, the connection with them is going to be very deep. So yes, guys, this is something which I wanted to say as a part of my inputs for this placement of Rahu and Ketu in the 5th house and the 11th house. For further more updates and notifications on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. Dhanyavad.